tonight's presenters and everyone joining us in person and via live stream. Thank you for being here. Miles Nelfrip will lead us in the pledge.
Ready, set, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All of our board members are in attendance with no exceptions. There are a few addendum materials on the following topics: written comment, HR report, Head Start monthly program report, district enrollment and attendance area update, Head Start self-assessment plan for 2024-2025. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addenda. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. For tonight's meeting, we'll begin with awards and recognitions with Courtney Fisher.
You're welcome. Good evening, Madam Chair, Board of Trustees, Dr. Howell, Ms. Johnson, and our student representatives. Are you here somewhere out there in the crowd? Yes? Okay, awesome. Love to see you here. So tonight we're going to recognize several individuals who, through their actions, support and embody our district's mission to think more, learn more, and be more together. And first up, we have our November Cake Awards, our Learner of the Month. School District 25 believes a safe, supportive, caring, and respectful environment is critical to student learning. The School District 25 Education Foundation, in partnership with Johnson Family McDonald's, supports the Learner of the Month Award to recognize one elementary learner and one secondary learner from our district from October through May. The Cake Award celebrates positive character, attitude, kindness, and encouragement toward others. Nominations for the Cake Award are submitted by a teacher who has observed the nominee's behavior and are approved by the school principal. Cake Award recipients receive recognition here tonight at our monthly board meeting and a gift card for the recipient and their teacher to McDonald's and a $50 donation to purchase books in your name, both courtesy of Johnson Family McDonald's. So the first up, I have our Elementary Learner of the Month, Miss Brooklyn Nally, is going to join me with her teacher. Is Miss Rios here? Okay, Miss Rios, come join Brooklyn up at the podium. Thank you and your families for being here tonight. So Miss Brooklyn, Miss Brooklyn is in the first grade at Green Acres Elementary School, and she was nominated by her teacher, Mrs. Rios. The behavior tech, yeah, it says it right in your letter. In her nomination letter, Mrs. Rios wrote, "I am the behavior tech at Green Acres, and I visit Brooklyn's classroom frequently. I always see her participating during whole group instruction, cleaning up after herself or others, and saying kind things to her peers. Brooklyn has demonstrated great qualities of characters on many occasions. In class, when another student was very upset and crying, I witnessed Brooklyn say, 'It's okay, there's always next time. Take a deep breath. I'll do it with you.' Additionally, she was caught on camera boldly assisting another student on the playground who needed help standing up for themselves and seeking an adult. This took a lot of bravery. When one of her classmates won a sub ticket, something students in her classroom can earn by having excellent behavior for a substitute teacher and can redeem for a prize, instead of being disappointed that it was not her, she celebrated that classmate and congratulated them genuinely. I am continuously impressed by her kindness, thoughtfulness, and desire to help others." So Brooklyn, thank you for being such a great model. I'm going to give you this certificate and shake your hand. And then we're going to give you your prize. And your prize includes a cupcake kit to make cupcakes at home with your family. And then you'll also get that gift card to McDonald's and $50 to purchase books for your library in your name, okay? So let's give her a round of applause. Awesome. And if you will too, our board members love to congratulate you in person.
Thank you.
All right, one more round of applause for Miss Brooklyn. Yay. Okay, next up, we have our secondary learner of the month for November. Would Mr. Aiden Moss and his teacher, Miss Lindsay Matthews, join me at the podium? Awesome. Thank you so much for being here tonight. So Aiden is in the 7th grade at Alameda Middle School, and he was nominated by his teacher, Mrs. Matthews. And in her nomination letter, Mrs. Matthews wrote, "Aiden is a great student first and foremost. He takes his education very seriously. When he comes to school, he is here to learn and then to chat and have fun with friends. I can always count on Aiden to be one of the most engaged learners in the room. He will answer my questions, give me a pity laugh for my bad jokes," I love that part, "and get his work done. Aiden will also help anyone around him who needs help. Because he is so capable, he finishes his work rather quickly, but he never wastes class time. If he is not working on other assignments or reading quietly, Aiden will be helping another student in the class who needs it. He will push those students to genuinely try it themselves before he helps them." A few weeks ago, when students had the time to read or silently work on assignments, one of his peers from Honors Math needed some help. Aiden and I coined the term struggle silently that day. I love that because it fits right in with Visible Learning Pit. Aiden wouldn't help until that student tried, without disrupting others and with true intent, for at least 5 minutes until he agreed to help. And his helping was not giving this student answers, but actually helping the student work on the formula and equation. When one of his friends tried to sneak AirPods in during class, Aiden politely called them out and told me. This really impressed me because my kids are very loyal to their friends and think I'm strict for not allowing AirPods. We love that. To Aiden, doing the right thing is what matters most. He truly demonstrates great character, attitude, kindness, and encouragement. He is a great learner and all-around kid. So Aiden, wow, thank you so much for being such a great role model to your peers. Congratulations. And you will also get the Johnson family gift card and $50 in your name to purchase books for your media center. So let's give him a round of applause. And if you'll stand up for a book. And you as well, thank you for the nomination.
How about a pity laugh?
I wondered if Miss Matthews would want to tell one of her jokes.
Yeah, right.
Are you sure?
Get a pity laugh.
Okay, next up, we have our November PIES, our Employee of the Month, PIES Award, recognizes our employees who positively influence educational success. This award is for employees who go above and beyond in that effort, and our PIES Award recipient receives a $50 gift card from Lookout Credit Union, our educational partner for this award. So will Miss Krista Neifert and David Dodd join me up at the podium, please? So Krista is our PIES Award winner. If you guys will stand out here. Thank you for being here. So Krista works in our food service department. She's an integral part of that operation, and she was nominated by her peer back in food service, Mr. Dodd. And in his nomination letter, David Dodd wrote, "Krista consistently goes above and beyond to ensure everything runs smoothly, and not just in the central kitchen, which is a major responsibility on its own. To enhance the consistency and accuracy of food deliveries to the elementary schools, Krista developed a new online ordering system for their use. The system has not only made their jobs easier, but also streamlined the work for those of us who pull the orders and place them in the cages and on the carts. The system has been so effective that Heather, who's the food service coordinator, adopted it for the secondary schools as well. Additionally, to further reduce stress and improve accuracy and efficiency, Krista reorganized the cages and carts into a more user-friendly setup. Last year, Krista dedicated many hours over several months to help a new field supervisor learn to perform her job more accurately and efficiently. She also supports other leaders. She has helped me improve my work skills in the warehouse, as well as that of my drivers, by teaching us computer-related skills and helping us all see the bigger picture. Despite her busy schedule, she always finds time to connect with her kitchen staff and welcome back former employees who stop by to visit. She's a vital part of PSNA. I started calling her Sista Krista. Is that how you say it? Because she feels more like family than just a coworker. She makes everyone feel like that because that's the kind of cool person she is. So thank you so much for your contributions to our staff, and thank you for the nomination. Here's this award, and This is $50 from Lookout Credit Union, and this is $20 from Lookout Credit Union for the nomination. And if you will let our board congratulate you, thank you so much.
Just in time for Christmas.
Right. And that concludes the recognitions and awards tonight. Thanks.
Next, we'll hear from our student representatives from each high school. We'll start with representatives from Century.
Good evening. My name is Suri Dalamy. I'm student body co-president at Century High School. My co-president, Austin Turner, couldn't make it tonight. He's sorry, but we'll see him next time, hopefully. As our first trimester came to an end, we had lots of exciting activities closed, but we also have a lot of exciting activities coming. We sent our swim, cross country, and soccer teams to state this year. Boys cross country placed 3rd overall. Soccer placed 6th overall. Girls swim placed 13th, and boys swim placed 12th. We sent all our teams off with our annual Walk of Fame, where band, cheer, and our student body were able to help celebrate their big achievement, sending them off to state. Marching band had their last competition, where they placed 4th overall, and we're excited to start our winter sports. Boys and girls basketball teams have already been picked, and this year we have 8 female wrestlers planning to compete. Our drama department closed their fall production and evening with Edgar Allan Poe, and we're getting ready to send them off to districts next Saturday. Our student body raised $750 for our local food bank during our annual Give Cops a Bird fundraiser, supplying over 40 turkeys for families in our community for Thanksgiving. We held our annual roundup as well, where band was showcased and money was raised for various clubs at Century. And we began planning our Hunger Games fundraiser, where the student body helps to raise money to supply Christmas gifts, coats, and canned food for families in need at our school and in our community. And we've created new ways for the community to participate in that as well. We held our annual Veterans Day Assembly, where 2 guest speakers were able to share their experiences with us, and our student body was very respectful. Students are being encouraged to participate in College Wednesday and Century Friday, where they can represent their future college and their current high school. Lastly, sophomores and juniors took the PSAT, and multiple FSA nights have been held to help our seniors get financial aid. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, do we have our representatives from Pocatello High? Highland High?
Pokey's in the back.
Oh, she's coming. I didn't see her. Sorry, just a minute.
Okay, so for Pocatello High School, we have been very busy this school year, building school spirit and helping all of our students feel valued and part of our Pokey High School. We trained about 120 students to be peer leaders in our Sources of Strength program. These students meet every Monday and share a weekly message or activity with the student body designed to help promote inclusion, healthy activities, and healthy relationships. Our Sources of Strength peer leaders also have a monthly lunch sponsored by a local business. Sources of Strength is also currently doing a food drive for the Pocatello High School food pantry, where we are trying to get food for Thanksgiving and hopefully Christmas week.
We have about 40 special education students who are participating in our Special Olympics. So far this year, these students have thrown out souvenir volleyballs and helped our volleyball team with warm-ups. Soon they'll be helping with a boys' basketball game. In the next couple of months, we will have our fans in the stands basketball games, where our Special Olympics students will play a game while the student body cheers them on. This spring, we are participating with ISU Athletics for a field day. Our fall sports team also had successful seasons. Cross country, football, golf, swim, volleyball, and girls soccer all made it to state competition. And our girls soccer team brought home a state soccer championship trophy. This is the first state championship trophy in girls soccer for PHS.
Wait, before you stop, can you introduce yourself, both of you?
I'm Katya Yanez, and I am the junior class president.
Thank you.
I'm Bailey Bowers, and I'm the other junior class co-president.
Thank you. Ivan, can you first introduce yourself? Yeah, of course. Thank you.
I'm Relyn Reback. I'm the Highland High School representative. We've also had a really busy first trimester, and we're really excited to start our second trimester. We want to congratulate all of our fall sports and activities competing in district and state. We're really proud of how each team competed this season. Winter sports and activities have kicked off, and they're going really strong, and we're excited to be able to finally use our gym to host games this winter season. Highland Travers are performing their cabaret this week, nightly at 7:30 p.m. at the Calvary Chapel. And then we want to congratulate our Highland Key Club for holding a really successful blood drive and raising over $400 for UNICEF. We appreciate their service in giving back. Student Government is holding a Christmas event for families in the community. It's called A Night in Whoville, and there are activities for kids and their refreshments. It's $5 per kid at Highland High School, December 11th. We would like to invite everyone in the community to come. Additionally, Student Government is also fundraising for our Sub for Santa event, which is where we provide meals and gifts for families in need in the community, and we have placed giving boxes in local businesses to raise money. We will be fundraising and advertising for both of these events at the City Nightlight Parade this Thanksgiving break, so if you're planning on coming and would like to donate, we would really appreciate you helping us fill our Santa hat on our float.
Thank you. We're changing the order of the agenda a little bit. We are going to have Doran, it's under 10D, the FY24 Annual Financial Report and Certification of Annual Statement of Financial Condition by Jonathan Balls and Doran Lamson.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for your time this evening. We have just wrapped up our annual financial report, and I'd like to introduce Doran Lamson, who is our auditor that the board has hired to audit our financials and our procedures, internal controls, and so forth. He is the partner with Deaton & Company. So we'll give him some time to report to the board, ask any questions regarding the audit, and then I just have a brief overview that you'll find in your packet of our financials.
Thank you. First of all, what a great audience. They stayed when they said the auditor had to speak, and so that usually doesn't happen. I'd like to start off by letting the board know that we did perform the audit for the School District 25 for the fiscal year ended June 30th of 2024 in accordance with generally accepted governmental auditing standards. In doing so, it allowed us to provide the opinion that is found in your annual comprehensive financial report. And that is that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects. These financial statements are the responsibility of management, and that's also recorded in our report. As auditors, we're required to exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. Identify and assess the risk of material misstatements of the material misstatements of the financial statements, whether due to fraud or error, and design and perform an audit procedures responsive to those risks. We obtain an understanding of internal controls to evaluate those risks. We also evaluate the appropriateness of the accounting policies and the reasonableness of significant accounting estimates. We conclude whether in our judgment there are conditions or events considered in the aggregate that raise substantial doubt about a district's ability to continue as a going concern for a reasonable period of time. And that reasonable period of time would be for 1 year after the date of our report. Because this audit is subject to government auditing standards, we're also required to provide a report on internal controls and compliance. However, we do not provide an opinion on internal controls in response and internal controls and compliance. That report states that we have reviewed and evaluated internal controls and compliance, and we found no material or significant deficiencies to be reported. In addition, the school district, because they have expenditures that exceed $750,000 in federal expenses each year, are subject to the single audit. And the single audit requires that we opine on the city's compliance and controls over those federal awards and expenditures. Our report also disclosed that those control, or that those, that the school district, number 25, complied in all material respects with the type of compliance requirements referred to that could have a direct and material effect on each major federal program for the year ended June 30th of 2024. Part of our audit, we're also required to let you know if we have any difficulties or disagreements with management. At this time, I'm happy to disclose that we have not. And we want to thank, first of all, Jonathan Balls and his financial team, and Dr. Howell, and their help in us performing this audit. They're always helpful in providing the information that we need to perform our audit. And we thank those of you who have participated in inquiries as well. At this point, I'll turn time over to Jonathan to present financial statements.
Okay, again, just as a reminder, this is up for action, that you, as a school board, accept the auditor's report, and as well as the annual financial report as well. I have the electronic copy of our financial audit and financial report is available online. Right now, it's just in board docs, and once you approve that, it will be posted to our website. I have paper copies for you as the board as well, if you would like, a few copies. And then obviously, we have copies that if any patron would like a hard copy, we can get that. Again, just a few slides in your board docs. Again, literally snippets from our financial report. Again, the first is our general fund, the largest fund, as we have over 30 different funds as we account for the different programs of the school district. The first one, the general fund revenues, again, that first page just shows, okay, where do we get the bulk of our money? Again, through our some of it through our supplemental levy, about 7% from our supplemental levy, as well as some investment earnings as well. As the majority of it does come through our state apportionment, through salary-based apportionment there. And so you can kind of review those revenues. I took another snippet of the expenditures side that, again, approximately 85% of our general fund is spent on salaries and benefits for our staff and support staff that help educate our learners there. I wanted to comment there that, again, the actual amount at the ending, the fund balance at the ending, again, it's a good amount that we have the ability to be able to continue to operate in a way that will maximize the learning in our schools and support them in all their educational and academic endeavors there. Again, as a reminder, we were given some one-time monies at the end of the year, and that is as a part of that balance there. And again, that balance, if we string that out, that would cover about 68 days of our operations. And so we're right in balance with the GFOA, Government Financial Officers Association. And they recommend no less than 2 months, and we're slightly over that. So we're within that recommendation for the amount of balance that we have in our general fund. Again, at the next slide, I just took a snippet of 5 years, but we have 10 years worth of balances in the audit report on page 110. Again, kind of shows the general fund balances and then the total balances that we have. Again, the total amount is inflated a little bit with the insurance money that we have received to rebuild back Highland, that we're just, we put that in with the state pool earning interest, to benefit that future.
That assigned line?
Correct, yes, yeah. And so again, that's just earning interest, to help benefit the project. And then going on the next page, part of this, I didn't have a page number on that, but our capital project funds, we actually now have two because of the insurance. The capital project fund is, or 420, that's our SIP. That's again, the revenues that mainly are funded from the property taxes. And you can see that we have a good amount to continue to maintain our schools, as well as the next column over is the insurance fund. Again, this is only a temporary fund, which will go away once we rebuild Highland. And so you can see kind of the amount, the ending balance that we have in savings for that. And then, of course, it totals it up because these are both used for capital projects. And lastly, I just took a little piece of it. Again, we have 30 different funds. They're all accounted for in here. This is one that shows the revenues and expenditures, net income, if you will. And these are just four. One is they technically still call it the State Tobacco Tax Fund, but it's our Safe and Drug-Free School Fund. And so you can see the amounts there, ending balances. Of course, as you can see, we spend all of our Title I dollars, and our special ed dollars and IDA Part B, school age and preschool funds. So again, that was just a brief highlight. Special thanks to, again, our taxpayers, our communities who support the education, the quality education that's found in the Pocatello-Chubbuck School District. So before you, I guess, is the action. I think you'd like to still take that right now, or we can do that later.
Yeah, I hereby move the board accept the annual financial audit report for fiscal year ending June 20th, 2024, and certify the annual financial condition statement as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we will have our public written comment. Written comment was received. We had a lot of emails, and that's included in the addendum. We would like to know that I think there was a misunderstanding. There will be no action taken on these boundaries tonight. This is just a preliminary recommendation, and we as a board got this the same day that you received it. So it's just a preliminary recommendation. But we as a board have prioritized public comment and public input. So we will have more opportunities for tonight, and then also more opportunities for the public to weigh in, including public hearings. So with all these comments, just remember to keep your comments civil and respectful and stay within the allotted time. We have received a few requests. You have 3 minutes. Renee is our board, our board secretary, and she'll keep time. And we'll start with Dakota Bates.
Thank you, Chairwoman Judy and the fellow trustees for the opportunity to address you tonight. I'm the parent of 2 and hopefully one day 4 students at Washington Elementary. After reviewing all available information, I have concluded that the Elementary Enrollment and Attendance Committee's recommendation of closing Washington is both short-sighted and not in accordance with the stated guiding principles of the committee. The committee was tasked with optimizing capacity and balancing populations throughout our network of elementary schools. According to the committee's proposal, 4 of the now 12 elementary schools will actually decrease in capacity, while Jefferson will increase enrollment by 10%, Tendoy will increase by 14%, and Syringa will increase by 15%. And I think it should be noted that both Jefferson and Syringa consistently have more students transfer out of those schools than transfer in. This does not appear to me to be an optimal use of the district's elementary school capacity. The committee was also asked to minimize disruptions for learners and families. The decision to close Washington, rather than even entertain the idea of making the necessary upgrades to the school, clearly is not the most minimally disruptive option. Furthermore, when compared with the potential closure of Tendoy, which has a smaller student enrollment and is geographically encircled by 4 other elementary schools with capacity, it is clear to me that closing Tendoy, which I do not support, would result in less disruption than closing Washington, which would result in a domino effect of more and more students being pushed north. This is in clear contradiction of the projected growth that was given to the committee by Bannock County, which said most growth in the short term will occur in Chubbuck between Reservation and Tyhee Road. Finally, the committee was supposed to plan for future needs and changes. As is recorded in the meeting minutes, in 2013, the district needed to consider changes to boundaries because of overcrowding. And now 10 years later, the district is poised to make a hasty decision to close the southernmost school east of the railroad while our community continues to grow in the north. No one can predict where the district will be in 10 years from now, but I will not be surprised if at that point a future board and trustees is having to consider the costly and difficult step of running a bond to build a new elementary school to accommodate the overcrowding of Chubbuck, Ellis, and Tyhee. Washington Elementary is the only school that has increased its enrollment over the last 7 years, and any parent of a Washington Wolf can tell you why. It's because of the love and dedication of Principal Stevens, her staff, the PTA, and so many parents like myself who feel Washington is an extension of our home and the heart of our neighborhood. Ms. Clark, almost 1 year ago, while considering the reasons why the Highland High School bond failed, you expressed that you were surprised at how many elementary teachers felt they were always left out. Yet here we are, only 1 year later, considering the closure of a school that will result in bigger class sizes with more children that need attention. I ask the board to please consider if for once we can place the needs of our elementary staff and students before the wants for artificial turf, locker rooms, tracks, showers, and tennis courts. Surely they are more important than those things.
Thank you very much. All right, next we have Michelle Mitchell.
Either one.
You can, whatever you want.
I'm going to read directly from my notes so I can fit in my 3 minutes and probably speak very quickly to do so. I'm here to speak regarding the recent discussion involving attendance and enrollment for high school boundaries. I read all submitted written public comment, heard all in-person public comments, and watched all of the board discussions in every meeting pertaining to this matter. First and foremost is that I observed this board asking for the school district's admin's professionals' advice, details, data, and input regarding the high school timeline. And after hearing the recommendation to wait, take their time, do things right, and not rush the process, to prioritize elementary and middle school needs first, then move on to high school, the majority of the board's response was, well, let's see what we can squeeze in now pertaining to high school. Sue Pettit made remarks last week in the board meeting that Century is currently receiving more requests of kids to transfer out of the school than it is for kids wanting to transfer into it. That should have raised a red flag. The big why. Why more kids are requesting to transfer from that school than the other two. Kids now do have a state rule of school choice option, and they aren't choosing Century. You need to understand more of those why indicators before adjusting enrollment numbers for a school receiving the highest number of requests to transfer out. Both Century parents and a coach spoke about enrollment and their concern for athletic participation due to the lack thereof regarding enrollment and wanting a better high school experience for their students. Please not forget that across town, Highland High School is a school functioning as a 2-hallway building. I could speak to you every week as a Highland parent regarding the lack of opportunity and disservice for all areas of arts, academics, and athletics for the students attending Highland over the next 3 to 4 years as Highland rebuilds. But let me remind you that we don't draw lines on the map to create more opportunities for athletic participation, do we? Lines are supposed to be created to ensure and maintain a high quality of an educational environment. Student athlete is just that, students first, athletes second. Century and Pokey are both fully functioning schools with choir, band, drama, orchestra, 2 full-size gyms, enough space for wrestling, cheer, girls and boys basketball, and volleyball. Does it not make you wonder why Highland High School students who are not provided any of these amenities are not jumping ship for a bigger school with more to offer? Kids are smart. They go where they know they will thrive.
Not all teachers, staff, admin, coaches, and are created equal. Some work much harder than others. The culture and the environment in our high schools are speaking loud and clear as indicators to your enrollment numbers. You can change lines in all areas. The kids will still get school of choice and the numbers will remain to look the same because boundary lines are simply not the issue. I want consideration for boundary lines to be in the best interest of all 3 schools, not just one school in one moment in time. In your enrollment packet today, it does show with the student enrollment report that all 3 high schools over the past 3 months have decreased enrollment numbers, not just Century. Over the next few short years, you'll see expansion and growth in North Highland, North Chubbuck, as well as the rebuild of Highland High School, and you'll be talking about enrollment areas all over again. As you can see with the current elementary and middle school topic on your hands are currently as full as you'd probably like to get them. So yes, go ahead and start the discussion, but do so after the holidays. Don't rush a high school committee through the process that we all know will take much more time, effort, and energy than what would be provided to them to actually think changes could adequately and effectively be implemented by next school year.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks. Next, we have a board policy that if somebody is representing a group of people, they can have 10 minutes. So we will have Tricia Cameron representing her neighborhood, and you'll have 10 minutes.
I won't be speaking for 10 minutes. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm a little nervous, so I too will be reading directly from my notes. My name is Tricia Cameron. My husband Ryan and I have lived in Pocatello for 30 years and have lived in the historic University neighborhood for 22 of those years, raising our family in the same house that will turn 100 years old next year. We have been active and engaged members of the College Neighborhood Association, or the CNA, since we moved to the neighborhood, and I am here today to represent our association. The CNA was created 30 years ago out of necessity when our historic neighborhood was being encroached upon by non-residential entities. We are an active, robust, and thriving neighborhood association, one of the 5 core neighborhood associations in Pocatello. Our mission is to not only preserve and protect the historicity of the homes and neighborhood, but also to foster community within our neighborhood. SD 25's stated mission is to provide learning for the possibility of tomorrow. We hope to collaborate together on the future of elementary education in our neighborhood. We heard yesterday that the committee was formed by the School District Board of Trustees to address the elementary school enrollment numbers and to make recommendations on solving that problem. From the minutes, we can see that the recommendation is going to be made to consider closing Washington School in the historic University District. While we recognize that the school board is grappling with enrollment issues in elementary schools, and it's a complex issue, closing a school in a historic neighborhood not only affects the learners, their families, and the teachers, but it significantly impacts the neighborhood, the city, and in this case, the university. We feel that several key stakeholders are missing from that committee: the College Neighborhood Association, Idaho State University, NeighborWorks Pocatello, and the City of Pocatello. A school closure in our neighborhood affects each of these organizations in significant ways. The historic university neighborhood is the home to diverse residents, and many are students, faculty, and staff at ISU who choose to live in a walkable neighborhood. When ISU is courting potential faculty who have lived across the nation and world, they are often looking for an urban neighborhood with qualities like ours. A walkable neighborhood elementary school is a critical component of a desirable place to live. In 2000, the National Trust for Historic Preservation added historic neighborhood schools to its list of America's 11 most endangered historic places. These are irreplaceable community landmarks. Schools were once thought of as important civic landmarks. I'm probably speaking too fast, so let me take a little breath. They represented community investments that inspired civic pride and participation in public life. Strong neighborhoods are the building blocks of strong cities and communities. Jane Jacobs, considered the godmother of the American city, believed that cities are made great by their diversity. Having buildings with different purposes creates lively activity throughout the day among neighbors. Washington Elementary is that social hub and community anchor in our neighborhood for all residents. Growth in a city cannot only happen on the outskirts. We need to invest in our core neighborhoods because it's wise and we have that stewardship. It says something about who we are as a community and as a city. We don't want to have a legacy of abandoning beautiful historic buildings. Instead, we want a legacy of finding creative solutions to keeping and finding pride in these gems. Our neighborhood is a gem in Pocatello, and I hope we can be part of the solution. Our understanding is that this is a preliminary recommendation to the Board of Trustees. We wholeheartedly believe that the College Neighborhood Association is a key stakeholder that has not been given the opportunity to have a seat at the table for input into this important decision. We urge you to invite us to be part of this process and allow for creative solutions to be entertained and explored. Thank you.
Ryan Cameron.
I am not as long-winded as my wife, but you can tell what we talked about this morning on our walk. My name is Ryan Cameron. I am speaking to you this evening as a resident of the historic University District. The preliminary recommendation memo to close Washington Elementary School includes a key phrase that this recommendation is aligned with the best interests of all stakeholders involved. This is the statement that I'm concerned about because I don't think that's true. It seems that many key stakeholders were not consulted or involved with the discussion. There's a lot of study out there that siloed decision-making leads to suboptimal outcomes. I acknowledge, as Trissa did, that there is a challenge with just decreasing enrollment, underutilization of buildings in the network, and undesirable maintenance costs. But this decision process can be a dial with many different options rather than a switch with just one or two. Creative options exist if we're willing to find them through community engagement. With the right stakeholders around the table, a range of creative solutions could be given to the Board of Trustees in options that are much more palatable than the ones currently presented. For instance, what if we looked at the problem as strengths rather than issues? What if we considered Washington Elementary's low enrollment numbers and its unused building space as an opportunity for creating a shared use hub, one to be enjoyed as a community center and a model for a small education provider in a core neighborhood? There are a myriad of solutions to the challenge at hand. The historic University neighborhood is one of the core neighborhoods in Pocatello that is walkable and holistic. Residents can walk to the post office, bank, grocery store, hardware store, restaurants, parks, offices, and currently schools. These important components are synergistic and required for a prosperous neighborhood, like organs in a living body. Removing Washington Elementary from our neighborhood leaves the community incomplete. Our neighborhood association is starting a long-range planning effort with the help of the City of Pocatello's planning department. A complete and comprehensive neighborhood is definitely a part of our plan. I urge the board to convene a complete group of stakeholders to creatively explore options and give you, the decision makers, with the unenviable task of making a decision, multiple reasonable options instead of just one bad one. Thank you for your time tonight and for your service to our community.
Thank you. Now we have John Holmes.
Hello and good evening. Those were all excellent. So I didn't have much time to prepare as many remarks in a good way like everybody else, but I'll start with just a few things. So I am John Holmes. I live in the university area on 7th Street. I've had 3 kids go to Washington Elementary School. I have one that's currently at Washington Elementary School who would be very, very happy to go to Green Acres. He would be very upset that I'm here saying that he can't go to, that I don't want him to go to Green Acres. And the reason for that is he wants to go to a school where he has a friend at that currently goes to Green Acres. What he doesn't understand is that there's way more to a school than just that. So there's really three things that I really want to talk about. So one is process and transparency of what's occurred so far and how this really should go forward. Two is just budgetary issues. And then three is just community and public health. So I encourage everybody to go back and read the minutes of each of the meetings that were held. I think it's important to see why the recommendation was put forward. I don't know, we don't have all of the information in the minutes of what the committee had, but it appears that there may not be objective decision-making occurring, and it is very siloed, like Ryan Cameron just said. I don't know what the cost to maintain Washington Elementary School is, but it sounds like somebody said it's an old building, it looks old. My assessment is we should close that school. That's essentially what the minutes say. So please go back and read the minutes. From a budgetary standpoint, budget wasn't discussed in this recommendation. I think that's a really good approach to decision-making is not allowing budgets to make our decisions for us. However, this is a budgetary issue. And to only be presented with one option and then to make a decision off of one option seems short-sighted from a budgetary standpoint. Why not have 3, 4 options, see what the cost is of each of those options, and see what the cost of implementation is and how all of that will be will play out would be important. And then finally, like has already been said, the community and public health of a community school a neighborhood school is vitally important. Many studies have been done showing reduced obesity, improved mental health of children and of family members and of people that work at the schools. And this is true at Washington, as evidenced by it's the only elementary school in the district that has maintained or grown enrollment in the last 7 years. There's been 4 schools that have closed, Whittier, or 3 schools, Whittier, Bonneville, and Roosevelt, all community schools. Why close another neighborhood school in the school district? Thanks.
Thank you. Chris, says Charles and Crystal. Charles and Crystal? Is that what this is? Okay, perfect. We'll do Ellie Ryan. Ellie Ryan. Hi.
There may be some redundancy to my comments as well, and I'm also terrified of public speaking, so I'm going to read from my notes. Just of note, I listen to the radio every morning as I'm getting ready for work or getting my kids ready for work. And last week, I actually was listening and heard a soundbite out of Salt Lake and a mother talking about her school that was getting closed, that was closing. And I remember thinking, wow, that'd be terrifying. And now, as a strange coincidence, here I am. So I can't help but think maybe the cosmics were preparing me. But hello, my name is Ellie Ryan. I live in the University neighborhood, and my daughter attends Washington Elementary. First of all, our kids started in a local public charter. We decided to remove them and enroll them at Washington for several reasons. Probably the main reason was for location, the ease of access, walkability, and to build relationships within our neighborhood. We have come to know and appreciate the faculty, staff, and made many new friends within our neighborhood. It's a bummer we're here tonight engaging in this conversation, and you are aware of the statistics. You already know Washington has the lowest enrollment, but it's a study of enrollment, and that nearly 65% of the students are on free and reduced lunch. You know that the school is old and it needs a lot of work, but I would like to share the unmeasurable value that Washington Elementary has. Washington opened its doors in 1925. Next year will be its 100th birthday. Next to Pocatello High School and Irving Middle School, it is one of the last iconic historical educational buildings in Pocatello. This school holds our human history within its walls. Historical value aside, this school is centrally located in Pocatello. It serves a unique population of students. Kids come from all walks of life. Its direct access to education is imperative to many students. Closing the school may make their access to education more challenging. The school serves an entire community with life and abundance. It's also the heart of a thriving neighborhood, a neighborhood that interacts with the children on their way to school, to and from, and for many people, it is the literal highlight of their day, where they are having direct contact with that child or watching them out their window. They look forward to the Wolf Run in the fall when the children race Principal Stevens through the streets of our neighborhood. Not many schools have that. Children playing on the playground, not only during school hours, but on the weekends or summer evenings brings a sense of vitality to our neighborhood. The school is a literal beating heart for our large, centrally located Pocatello neighborhood. And if you've been in the school, you know that it's hot in the summer when it's hot outside. It's cold in the winter when it's cold outside, and it's leaky when it rains. But it also has a sense of warmness, acceptance, and belonging. Principal Stevens and her faculty and staff know every child by name. They know every child's parent by name. I don't know how they do that. They know the unique needs and challenges of each student. They are invested in this school and in their students. Their efforts should be realized, respected, and commended. I appreciate everything they have done for my children and for others.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Joe Yeaman. Is it Joe Yeaman or Yeaman? Sorry, I'm not sure how to say that. Is it Yeaman? Yeaman. Yeaman, okay.
My name's Joe Yeaman. I just wanted to come here tonight. Many of the topics that I wanted to touch on was already spoken very eloquently. Thanks, you guys. A couple things is, the saturation of Tendoy is really what I thought about. I can't speak, I can't represent anything, but just I want to caution the board that consolidation into other schools as you continue forward sometimes doesn't work out. I really can't say what I do, but consolidation just sometimes does not work out. I was running some stats on 2023 data, and you'd be surprised with those numbers and how the enrollment and then the cost per pupil works out. I know it's all available on stateofidaho.gov, I believe, Department of Education, excuse me. But I want to just reiterate the saturation of Tendoy and how many schools are within roughly a 1 mile radius of Tendoy. I wouldn't support closing Tendoy. That's their own school in their own neighborhood. Likewise, the historic part was set up on, Washington was built in, I believe, 1919, and it's named after our first president. It's one of the few last schools outside of local history, Native American history, that actually has an American president on it. And that's, to me, valuable. There's not many. Roland Ellis, good soul, I read about him. Sounds like he did a lot for the school district back in the day. Claude Wilcox, she was an educator, but yet we only have one school left outside of Jefferson. And if you close Washington, Jefferson will be the last one. Lastly, my daughter's 27. She started out in kindergarten. My youngest, he's 8. He's currently in Washington in 3rd grade. Washington is a great school. We love it. Miss Stevens and the staff and the teachers, they all know all 3 boys. And the Wolf Run, which was talked about as well, is where we discovered our 8th grade son's love for running. And he just got done winning all-city cross-country for Franklin Middle School. And it was because of Washington Elementary and the Wolf Run. So I'll be more prepared next time, but it was a little short on the timing because it came out on Friday. I found out it about yesterday, and then bam, here's the meeting. But I will bring more next time when I can get a little bit more prepared. But I get it, leadership's tough, and I do thank you guys for your service. And Washington's a good school.
Thank you. Marin Mining. Marin Mining.
I'm Maren Minig. Forgive me, I'm not as eloquently prepared as many of these people, but I just want to share my thoughts. I first want to say I appreciate your hard work and effort for the kids in the district. I understand the perspective. Boundary changes is a massive undertaking, and I know it will affect many families. I appreciate your efforts in trying to make it work for everyone. That's a huge and difficult job, so we appreciate all that you do for our kids. I am against the proposition to close Washington Elementary. It will have a rippling effect that will negatively affect the entirety of the community. I'm here to advocate specifically for our little neighborhood in the Highland area. That would be Calico Circle to Saratoga. It's a small neighborhood, about 5 streets, just west of Olympus in the Highland area. My kids currently attend Gate City, Franklin, and Highland High School. They would all be affected by the proposed changes. The young kids from our little neighborhood would be moved from the Gate City Elementary School to Syringa Elementary. While I'm sure that Syringa is a quality school with many wonderful students and faculty members, this would move our kids to a school that is not within a reasonable or safe walking distance and a completely separate area and neighborhood. We are separated by the freeway and multiple major intersections. I understand that boundary changes will move many kids into schools in new areas. Our area is unique in its location as it's tucked between the fairgrounds and the hotels, but very much part of the surrounding community. My biggest concern is separating our neighborhood children from the community in which they are very involved. It would literally split our small ward right down the middle. I feel that our kids would feel like outsiders in the Syringa community, being completely separated demographically from the area. I believe this would be very difficult and detrimental to not just my children, but all in our area. I don't see the need to single out our small neighborhood to pull into that Syringa boundary where it's across the freeway and multiple intersections when Gate City and Idaho are both in closer proximity and both within reasonable walking distance should there be an emergency of some kind. This also goes for Highland High School students as well. Our neighborhood is literally a block and a half from Highland. And the proposed changes would have our children feeding into Pocatello High School, which again, I'm sure is a wonderful school, a quality school, but it's nowhere near our area, and travel in snowy weather by teenage drivers in itself makes me nervous at that prospect. If boundary changes are necessary, and I would love them not to be, I would greatly appreciate a revision of the proposed boundary changes to keep our neighborhood within the schools they currently lie. My feelings are shared by many families in our neighborhood, and we'd be happy to get a petition around our whole neighborhood if that would help, if it would be helpful to the process. And I appreciate your time and your consideration in this matter and hope that you have the best of luck in working all these things out, because I know it's very difficult. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Just so all of you know, we can't have the discussion about this right now, but we will have it later on in the meeting a little bit because of the order of the agenda. So I am moving on, but we are going to come back to this discussion. So just to clarify that. We now need to approve the October board meeting minutes. I hereby move that the board approve the following minutes as presented, the board meeting work session along with the other 4. Is there a motion?
Did you just motion it, though?
Hereby move that the board approve the following minutes as presented. The board work session, October 8th, 2024, special meeting, student representative orientation, the regular board meeting on October 15th, the executive session, student discipline on October 23rd, and a special meeting for the board retreat self-evaluation on October 28th.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passed. So next is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes authorization of the payment of claims, and I won't read the rest of them, but the list that's on the agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I hereby move that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Any discussion? Is there a second? I'm sorry.
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passed. Next on the agenda is the self-explanatory reports, which they include the ones on the agenda, starting with the Idaho General Fund Revenue Report. Is there a motion?
Just
There's no motion on that.
Okay, no motion necessary. Courtney Fisher will now provide the Communications and Community Relations report.
Okay, my communications report is in your board packet, and I'm going to keep this very brief so that you can move on to other things. Most of this is self-explanatory. I did want to just draw some positive outcomes with the levy, so that was big news in the month of November with our levy renewal passing at 63.19% in favor of passing that levy. We did a thank you message, so I showed you that in case you didn't see it online or on the website. To everyone, there was historic voting in Bannock County, so we just appreciate everybody getting out and voting and running this levy for the first time in a November general election. I think that percentage speaks very highly to the way things are going. I've included the top performing posts, which I'll let you look at your leisure. The top three, the third highest rated post was a really fun story that we turned something negative into something positive when we had the hall check at Syringa, which lasted the entire day. And so we decided, because those kids were so patient and their teachers did such a great job with being in that hall check due to a police matter in the neighborhood, we wanted to take those kiddos a treat and invite the SRO so that the kids could see our local law enforcement as the partners that they are. And so we handed out a treat, and that was just a really great. So that got, as it should have, some wide views. And I have posted the video link on this report for you to see. Community engagement is really important, and I wanted to share with you that behind the screen event that we streamed during Kind Week is still getting views. So even though attendance in person is relatively low at that event, we post it online, encouraging parents to watch it after the fact. And so it's 171 views and counting as we speak. It's really important information talking about whatever parent needs to know about online, protecting children from online dangers. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, it's about an hour long. I encourage you. I've provided the link to that stream in there as well. We had Veterans Day celebrations all throughout the community, so in our schools, and so I presented that link to you as well, so you could watch that video compilation of all those celebrations, and then also included our school newsletter content for our Everyday Matters attendance campaign as that campaign continues on. Interestingly enough, I went to a session at ISBA annual conference with Scott Graff, the communications director for the Idaho State Department of Education, and he specifically called out our campaign during his presentation, so I thought that was really cool, and I had a chance to share a couple of insights from that campaign with the attendees in that session. I've included media links for you, as well as the headlines of interest, and then all of the media links from the last month. And Mr. Knopf, did you have a question for me?
I tried watching the Veterans Day video, and the link didn't work for me at home.
Okay, I will send you a new link. We had a little bit of issue with the music, so YouTube blocked it for a period. I thought we had corrected that link, so I will send you a new one and make sure that it works.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm not sure why it flagged Amazing Grace or America the Beautiful or one of those. So.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I was at the Ellis Veterans Day presentation. It was great. And the Kind presentation about internet safety was also amazing. Next, Jonathan Balls will provide an update on Morton and Company liability insurance coverage over the previous year, followed by joining Chad with the, no.
Just this one for now.
That's it.
Then I'll be back later.
Okay.
Again,
wanted to let you just go on. Right?
Yes, thank you for letting our auditor go early. In your board packet is a letter from Chad Ransome. He's our Senior Vice President of Morton and Company, our insurance agent. Again, as a reminder, we get our insurance through, as an agent of Morton and Company through the ISBA. ICRIMP is our actually insurance company there. And so in front of you, again, Chad has listed out some different things regarding our insurance, some historical, even of claims of all of the membership. There, as you can see, insurance claims have increased from even starting in that Snowmageddon year, if you remember that heavy wet snow, some large claims, and of course we've had a few claims there as well. And so he goes on to list some recommended measures, which many of these we have implemented to help reduce our insurance risk and to help lower our premiums and where we can. Again, those are highlighted in bold from everywhere from property. Cyber liability is becoming a bigger claim or big insurance payment there for their company. Abuse, of course, the educators' legal liability, employment practices. Again, all these that we try to do to make it to minimize the time that we have to use our insurance.
And that's just information.
That was just information only, correct?
Okay,
Well, hopefully next year he'll be able to join us.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you. Next, we'll have the District Enrollment and Attendance Area Committee update.
Actually, I think we have Mrs. Bowie with professional
Oh, I'm
development
sorry, I
report.
skipped
That's just
ahead. I
information.
was looking ahead. Professional Development Report, it's also information.
Good evening. I thought it was appropriate to invite Cassie Atwood, our curriculum coordinator. Most of you had the opportunity to meet her. If I'm going to give a brief report on professional development, I think it's really important that she's here. She's a crucial part of the professional development work that happens in our district. So per your request, a report detailing the professional development opportunities since August was included in your packet. As you can see, it's organized into 3 sections. First, there's a month-by-month overview of special trainings, of specific trainings for trimester 1. Then the next section, there's ongoing professional development led by instructional and technology consultants, and those are trainings that are offered throughout the entire year. And then the final section is in-service and professional development courses currently being offered at the building or district level. I think it's important to note what this report does not contain. It doesn't include individual professional development opportunities in each building that are identified through the development of the building level continuous learning plan. So each building leadership team conducts a needs assessment based on building level data analysis. This leads to the development of those SMART goals that we talked about and a building level, then they complete a building level professional development plan. They submit that to me and to the appropriate elementary or secondary director. We often have conversations with those principals as they prioritize those building level needs and provide opportunities to their specific teachers to learn and grow. I personally approve every single individual teacher professional development that comes from those plans. And they vary based on need. For example, a high school may have AP teachers who need new AP teachers that have never taught AP and they need specialized training for that. Or maybe one building has a SMART goal to improve their ELA scores on ISAT, and so they bring in a specialist to talk about very specific target. They've done the data analysis and they know what their teachers need to improve those scores. Or maybe they're focusing on teacher clarity, learning intentions, and success criteria, and so they do a book study. So none of that is in this report. And I just think it's an incomplete picture of professional development if we leave that piece of the puzzle out. So I just want you to know that that exists. We put a tremendous amount of time and energy and thought into developing meaningful professional development plans, and for 2 primary reasons. One, we know the correlation between that and recruiting and retaining teachers, as well as student achievement. I was going to highlight a few things from the report, but I think given time, I think it'd be more appropriate to do that next month during the work session perhaps. So I'll definitely do that then. But overall, you can see that we have a comprehensive and multifaceted plan that includes, we bring in national and state level specialists, we leverage our expertise in our own district, and we foster collaboration. And you can probably see that from that report. From here on out, we'll include this report as part of the self-explanatory report. And you could let Renee know, we can do it like this as like a trimester report, or we could do it every month, whichever you prefer. But I'll follow up with some of the specific highlights from Try One. The highlight reel will come next month in December. How's that sound?
Okay,
Okay.
that sounds
Thank you.
great.
Super, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Yeah, but-
This is exactly what I wanted to see, so I
Oh, good.
appreciate you putting the effort into making this. And, you know, we hear great things about our professional development from other districts, and so this is nice to see it.
To be able to see it, and then you can
Yeah.
follow up with any questions you ever have.
Thank you.
And not every district, I don't even know of any other district that has the
This
extensive,
comprehensive of a plan.
professional development that we have, but I
I'll
do
share
know
that
that,
with the
I
team.
do know that we have better than some that I know of. So,
I will share that with the team, and it will mean a
Thank you.
lot. Thank you.
like leaps and bounds better, so thank you. So district enrollment attendance area committee update and recommendation.
Sue's pulling up maps.
So which one of these maps
Good-
is that one? So I don't have to crane my neck.
Good evening. We'll go through all of these as
So,
we
I just don't.
share
I
input.
mean-
So I will introduce
okay,
them as
thank
well.
you.
Good evening, trustees. We appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today about district enrollment areas for both elementary and middle school. We have some of our committee members here to assist as well as we share a preliminary recommendation with you. With the elementary committee, we have Tara Daly, who is a teacher at Wilcox Elementary, and we have a parent, Lauren Dalton, who is here with us as well. So appreciate all of their input and work that they've completed so far on the committee. Just as a reminder, the elementary committee consisted of 13 committee members. 7 of those were parents that were randomly selected, and 6 district staff members, including administrators and teachers. We'll go ahead. Sue, do you want me to just go through the elementary piece first, and then we'll let you take over the secondary piece from there? We'll start with the elementary recommendation, talk a little bit about the process. I know you've already been informed and updated in prior meetings as to the goals and providing direction for us to form a committee and begin looking at these enrollment areas. Just as a reminder, the committee purpose was to address the decline in district-wide enrollment and to maximize the use of district resources and come up with and develop a recommendation or recommendations to provide to the school board for elementary enrollment areas. And just as we've gone through this process, we met for the last 6 weeks as a committee, and we have gone through, as you maybe have read in the meeting minutes, a number of informational items, including growth areas, data, student enrollment, billing information, really trying to identify the process and the best steps moving forward for the committee to make a recommendation. As stated, this is a preliminary recommendation. No action will be taken tonight. We just wanted to inform the board of the current progress of the committee and where they're at in terms of making a recommendation to ensure the long-term sustainability and success of our district. Over the past several years, you are well aware we've had a decline in elementary enrollment. In the last 7 years, elementary enrollment has decreased by 742 learners and reduced our building capacities and classroom sizes. After consideration and looking at a number of options and solutions, the committee is ready to make a preliminary recommendation. The Elementary Attendance Enrollment Area Committee recommends closing Washington Elementary, as well as a change in enrollment areas district-wide to equalize capacity in our buildings, balance enrollments, improve access to resources, optimize operational efficiency, and plan for potential future growth. Just as an overview of the proposed changes, included in your packet, there's a lot of information in your packet. I'm well aware that we gave you a lot of information. Like I said, you will have time to digest and work through this. But you have general area maps. And so as we have worked through this process, we have a specialist, a consultant that helps us operate what's called the GIS system, and that provides us with numbers and counts and enrollment areas on the maps that you are seeing. And so some of these we were still working on and going through, and still are working on those, just in terms of getting more specific detailed maps. And as soon as we have those available, we will share them. This is just a general overview of the boundary areas. Some of the smaller areas you can see a little more clearly. I know some of the larger boundary areas are a little difficult to identify specific roads, but as soon as we have those available, we'll definitely make sure they are shared, and hopefully that will be as soon as this week, as she's working on those. Also included in your packet is information regarding current and proposed enrollment and free and reduced lunch percentage numbers. As you can see, if you want to go to that information, I just want to explain a few things on there. Does everyone see that in your packet of information with everything in there? Kind of a spreadsheet format with the elementary schools. So they're currently enrolled. It has green, I believe, if you can see color on yours, it's green.
What link is
I'm
that?
sorry,
I don't know
spreadsheet.
which one we're supposed to be looking at.
It looks like this.
But
Looks
what,
like
do we know
this.
what one it
Link
is?
out of the,
I think
the
it's
last one.
titled as proposed
I
current.
believe it's the last one.
What does it say? Does it have a title on it? Yeah.
The FAQ?
Counts, it has elementary counts on there.
Second to
you have
last
to
one.
scroll down to see it.
Is this the second to last one, Renee?
Oh, I got it.
Mine, it's not.
Oh, no,
elementary
I know.
All of that's
Sorry.
the addendums.
Okay.
I got it.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Find it. Okay, so I just want to explain so you understand what you're looking at when you're looking at these numbers. The first column there is currently enrolled. Those are the number of students currently enrolled in that elementary school. That would include transfers into that school, so not just those that are currently living in that enrollment area. In the current boundary, that would be based on their physical address. So those learners, based on where they live, and should be attending just based on their physical address. So as you can tell, that in current boundary number might be smaller in some situations if they have a number of transfers that are transferred into their school. Current building capacity, that's just a percentage based on 28 learners per classroom. Proposed
28, did you?
28, yes. Proposed enrollment, which for some of our class sizes, that would exceed the class sizes. It's just a number to get a capacity. For example, our kindergarten and first grades are capped at 25. So it's just a number to get a percentage for capacity, but just so you're aware, that's 28 because we can go up to 30 in our older grades. So it's kind of an average number.
I see. Can I ask you a little question right here?
Please.
In the past, I have heard, and I'm not sure if this is true, so I'm asking you, some schools are consistently at the very, very top of the classroom class size, and other schools are consistently significantly lower in the class size. Is that correct?
Generally, there could be some of
Because
those
of the
situations.
because
Yes.
of the
Enrollment areas.
enrollment areas.
Growth areas, yes.
Some have
More and-
less,
Yes,
and then some have more.
correct.
So part of this is to try to get all class sizes
Balance that out.
balanced to a.
We currently have, I'll give you an example, we currently have classrooms that have 16 learners in the classrooms, and we have other classrooms that have between 28 to 30 learners in the classroom.
In the same grade.
I
like-
can't say that for sure, but.
could be the same grade.
It could be the same grade, but yes.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
It also shows the current free and reduced percentages for what they currently have enrolled in their school, and also the proposed percentage based on the enrollment area changes. Current learners out and in, so that would be based on the enrollment areas. If we were to change those learners would be learners that were currently in that school boundary area that would now be going to a different area or school. Learners in would be those students that are coming from a different school boundary area that would be coming into that new school boundary area. And then it says on there new, it should say net new on the top of that. And that would just be if they're having an increase or a decrease in their overall enrollment numbers based on the changes.
And I guess along with this, I didn't know this until I've been at all the elementary schools. Some are significantly bigger. So you do see, you know, a lot bigger numbers at some, but it's because the schools are significantly bigger. And I think from the outside, it's hard to really appreciate that.
We have, our elementary schools range from our smallest school has 13 classrooms to our largest school has 31 classrooms. So definitely a varying range of how many students they will be able to hold. Okay, if you look at the elementary map, so the elementary map is the one that obviously you can see with the most colors on it for the 13 different elementaries. So as you are looking, like I said, this is just an overview. The details of the streets are not in this map, but it's good to take a look at the proposed changes. As you can see, the colored areas are the current boundary areas. So for example, Indian Hills, we'll just use it because it's the largest one and easy to see on there. All of that pink color for Indian Hills is their current boundary area. The black outlines would be the new proposed boundary area for that school. So as you can see with Washington, Washington's the green color on that map. You can see how areas have to move south in order to help balance those numbers out and to redistribute those learners that would be needing to attend a different school based on the recommendation. Every single boundary in elementary was adjusted, some on a much larger scale than others, obviously based on proximity. But it gives you a general overview of what those boundary changes or recommendations look like currently. Questions, Heather? I can see you have a question.
Do we have this full map? Because when I click on individual
Yes.
schools, I can't zoom out.
Yeah.
Do we, which one is it?
It should be elementary proposed enrollment area
With
map.
MS overlayment? Okay.
No, that's middle school. That would be middle
Oh,
school.
okay.
Don't use
Yeah.
that one.
The
You
one-
can use that one, but it wouldn't be the right
Is it the
one.
one, no?
Elementary proposed enrollment area
enrollment
map.
areas.
Oh, the one right after that.
So a couple questions that I've got, if I can.
And please know the committee members, that's what they're here to do as well, so whoever you'd like to
it was
address
brought
it.
up tonight in one of in the comments, and I guess I am curious if you had worked with maintenance to talk about and look at the cost of Washington, and was that played into some of this recommendation, or was this strictly done on the enrollment numbers?
We had paperwork that was from an engineering company, I believe, that had went through all of the school buildings and said what their needs were, and then had a cost of what those would, what that would cost long-term, like in the next 5 years, in the next 15, in the next 20. So that definitely was taken into consideration of how we.
Because I guess where I'm going with this is, did you look at this without closing the school first, and then have that as some additional numbers or facts in order to come to this conclusion? And then the next question, I wish I had a piece of paper so I could have written some of these down, because I'm not remembering, my brain is. The reason for transfers, and maybe, Sue and AJ, maybe you can address that. Do we have, we get these reports that show how many kids are transferring in and transferring out, and it's probably more specific in the high school, they're coming for sports or they're coming for a particular activity. Thank you. What traditionally is the reason for these kind of transfers? And I mean, why are they coming for a particular teacher? Are they coming because of on the way to work, or?
It really, at the elementary level, it really varies. I mean, it's everything from friends at another school all the way to it's closer to where I work. There's a daycare in that vicinity that allows or picks up my learners. I mean, there is so many different reasons that I can't say that there's any specific, anything specific that would jump out to say for this reason over another, but they have a large number of them at the elementary level.
I know there are two reasons for the decline. One is people aren't having as many kids. Well, probably several reasons. And another one is Pocatello is not growing at the same rate as other cities are, because some have experienced tremendous growth, and we haven't experienced tremendous growth. But I think the other one is, do you have a number for how much the charter schools, private schools, religious schools have affected, how much that has affected our enrollment? Because that's pretty significant.
It actually was in
It's in the
the accounting firm report. There's a paragraph that talks about the specific numbers. I don't know if
Do you know those numbers?
I don't know them off the top of my
Like, it
head
was
in your
like
board
1,000 was
packet.
charter
but
schools and
There's, in the board
2,000
packet, there's also
Yeah.
enrollment information for the charter schools. And yes, I mean, between online school, charter school, homeschooling, we've seen definitely a decline in our enrollment. And you see it impacted in those areas geographically where those charter schools or other schools are as well. If it's within a reasonable range, you see those schools are impacted more heavily than if it's clear across town.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is too, is last year, we had a report that showed 1,200 empty spots in our elementary schools. Is that still about accurate, or is that may not have been based on capacity of the actual building? It might have been based on capacity of teachers in that building, which is different than the capacity of the building.
Correct.
Because there may be room for more teachers to go into that building. There's just not room for students to go in there because there isn't enough teachers there.
Yes, and I'm not
That
sure
makes
which,
sense.
I'm not sure which one you're referring to. It's not coming
Okay.
to mind with the 1,000, but yes, you are right that the capacity, there's a difference between building capacity and capacity based on staffing. And so those were definitely two considerations that the committee spent a lot of time looking at and considering, knowing that building capacity doesn't, just because they have the capacity to hold that number of learners doesn't mean the staffing would be able to match that.
Yeah, the one that you gave me, I believe it was, it was capacity, and I believe it was based on staffing.
Staffing.
So in other words, we would have even more a capacity than that 1,200. And also another thing to consider here is that we've been told by Jonathan as far as money, you know, because he's always telling us everything about money, that as the enrollment declines, the money we get from the state declines. And so we're having more schools to keep up with less money coming in from the state.
And as you remember
So
last
is
year,
that part of the consideration?
at the end of last year for this school year, we had to reduce 14 elementary teaching positions because of a decline in enrollment and reduced funding from the state because of the amount we receive per student.
And luckily, that was just attrition.
It was correct. No one
So,
lost
no one lost
their
their job.
Can I ask a question? On the current and free and reduced lunch,
Yes.
do you, on the top of your head, do you know the percentage needed to make it a Title I school?
35%.
Okay, so that doesn't, no school that is currently Title I is going to fall out of Title I.
Correct.
Okay, that's my.
As of now. I mean, you never know what projections. I know there was a time when I was at Chubbuck that we were very close a couple of years not making Title I. So, but yeah, projected, there's no school that would be below 35%, except for Gate City that's already there.
For Idaho, we lost that on a couple of years of Title I.
We did.
Before it requalified.
Correct. Just as of this last year.
Yeah, which
Was the
is
first year.
surprising. It's, yeah.
My second question is about parking. I just am curious to hear from them what the discussion was about parking, because I know there's big parking issues at Washington and at Tendoy, so if you could answer that.
Oh, yeah. So that definitely was brought up. And I think coming back to Heather's question, and I think went unanswered, the committee started out with kind of just a data dump. We got numbers on everything you can imagine that we would need to make this decision and more. Every meeting that we spent, at the end of the meeting, they would ask us, what else do you need for us to come back next meeting? And they would do their best between each meeting to get us all the data that we asked for. And I don't know if any of it was anything that couldn't be pulled over. I'm sure in a room of parents and teachers that this affects, we had a lot of questions ourselves, and we had a lot of stuff that we wanted to consider as well. So back to Heather's question, we did start out with just a bunch of, I think just 3 weeks of us kind of analyzing data. And then from there, we kind of looked at first how moving boundaries would work. And we quickly kind of came to the realization that just moving the boundaries wasn't going to solve the problem of the low capacity of the schools. And so from there, we kind of shifted our focus to closing one of the schools. Which school was kind of the question that we had to answer. And so that was the maintenance, numbers kind of came in a little bit to that. We did not start out with Washington as our first choice to kind of look at, but there were 2 schools that were higher in the amount needed for repairs, and parking I think came in at the same time as that one, because the 2 schools that we looked at that had the more amount needed for repairs in school also happened to have very, very little parking, and parents and teachers from both areas of that city and the town kind of had personal experiences with that parking, and so it was a large discussion with us.
Because that has come up in our capital improvements meetings every year. What should we do about Washington? What should we do about Tendoy? Tendoy has an agreement with the city now that we can use that parking. But Washington, it was either paving the playground or there wasn't any other option that we were given.
Yeah, and I think the discussion with that too was at least Tendoy had, the church right there. At least Tendoy had, I think there's an open, lot that the city owns or something, whereas Washington, there was, we wouldn't want to take away a playground or something for the kids to put parking and pave it over.
Got another couple questions. Now I can write them down. I'm wondering if, say the district were to close one of those 2 schools, did you consider the viability of what would happen to that property in any of your discussions? Because, one of the thoughts I've always thought is, Tendoy, where it's sitting, and I know we can't talk specifics about real estate, but there is, we can talk about what happened to Roosevelt. It sat for 7 years without. Of course, we can talk about what the legislator may do with vouchers and, maybe it becomes more viable, but I guess I'm curious if that ever came up in any of your conversations.
It did, and Roosevelt was brought up and Bonneville was brought up, and, we're all curious too, what does our decision affect, what are you going to do with this? And ultimately, it was kind of just brought back to the main focus of the committee, that it's not our committee purpose to decide or, think of what the board is going to.
If that had been part of the
we definitely,
conversation.
we were curious and our minds kind of went to different uses for different things, but ultimately it was just determined that, what was decided on what the use of the property afterwards was kind of out of our scope.
Sure, of course.
But
So
Even
a
the
follow-up,
historic-
go ahead.
Like, if it was a historic building was brought up.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. You've really focused on data, and I appreciate that, but obviously tonight, we've heard lots of emotional testimony about the historicity of the building and the community, and how much was that taken into consideration in your?
we kind of ran the gambit of, do we keep Washington and that's where all the specials classes go? Or, do we keep Washington and maybe when the situation is overcrowding, we bring Washington back in, so our minds kind of went to all scenarios, but ultimately that was kind of out of the scope of our meetings.
I know, I went to Bonneville. I'm so old. But I know now the Neighborhood Works took that property, and it's a really beautiful little neighborhood, but that was quite a long process and painful. So I don't know, it's a really difficult thing to think about. Let's see.
And as you can see on there, just as we'll get to middle, I know you want to get to the middle school piece as well, but
Yeah.
Just looking overall, district-wide, it would have an impact on 1,271 elementary learners. So a fairly significant impact on our elementary population in terms of.
And also in our SIP committee meetings, the capital improvement meetings, with our maintenance staff consistently every year, we have directed a lot of resources to Washington. And our maintenance staff is pretty remarkable, and I didn't appreciate it until I talked with them and went into the schools, but they do a remarkable job of keeping all the schools up, and they express their difficulty with that. I know, so you mentioned that. You mentioned that, but is there a number, though? Like, if we could have a number of, like, this is how much it costs to keep Washington
Per student.
up and running, and I'm talking electricity, gas, everything. Could we have a number so we get a better idea of?
We will work on getting
Can
to
I
that.
piggyback on that question?
Yes.
And even if it were to close, like, you can't leave it unheated forever so I'm curious to what it would cost us to have it closed. Hi.
So Madam Chair, I invited Mr. Balls. You mentioned the money before, and as a reminder, Mr. Balls is Director of Business and Operations. So he runs the numbers both ways, for maintenance, for capital improvements, all the way around, so.
No, I don't want to be here long. So yes, I can get you those numbers. I did look at that. I believe it's right around 50,000 a year. I guess if I could chime in with everything, again, with the comment tonight about budgets, I would echo that don't make this about the budget, make it about the educational and the use of the facilities. That's probably my biggest concern, is to utilize the facilities that we do have, because there is a cost. And we can estimate to see, because there will be a minimal cost to, make sure, that the facility is secure, and, as we, if that is the choice that the board makes, to close or shutter Washington there. Did that answer your question? I don't know. I can come back with some more concrete numbers there.
No, that's great, thank you. And we are not making any decisions.
No,
But
in the future.
just,
In the
yeah.
future.
Because I noticed, talking about a siloed decision, I think the purpose of the committee and having it be so large, because that was discouraged to have a huge, large committee, but we really, as a board, wanted we put it as large as possible, because, and I know it was Megan's suggestion to have it be half parents, so it was really community members / parents. Also, as we didn't know this would be the recommendation till, I saw it today, but we didn't know this would be the recommendation, so as more people become affected, that's when more people will be involved in this discussion. And so it's not closed at all. It's not, and we'll have a public forum, and I think we should give time to, the neighborhood associations and everybody, so that everybody has that opportunity to share.
Dan, I think it would also be important to maybe have someone reiterate what the new law is about open boundaries
enrollment?
and
Oh,
being
yeah.
able, because I guess another question would be is, for those that are already in the school, are they going to be forced out? Because I know I've had several questions about that, or, obviously we don't have the crystal ball for staff and teachers and classified, but I know, based on the FAQ that Courtney put out, there were some of those answers that might be helpful to maybe reiterate some of those.
I'm not
Verbally?
prepared
don't
to
know if
reiterate. We don't have any.
I can just share with you in regards to open
Well,
enrollment,
but I
yes.
mean about the law and how that.
Yes, so
played
open enrollment
differently than
is
the last
still
time.
part of, this process, and whether we were looking at making a recommendation to close a school or not. So yes, open enrollment and transfer requests would still be allowed all the way up to the beginning of the year and throughout the school year. It really doesn't change. We have transfers that come in. I bet I had before last week, before we had our little break, I think we had like 10 transfer requests that came in. So, and it comes down to building capacity and available space in terms of those transfers and staffing. Thanks, Sue.
Yeah.
And staffing, because we only have so many classrooms and teachers available to accept those transfers.
And according to,
We update that quarterly, And so our numbers are pretty consistent.
And we posted on the district website. It's required by law that we do that quarterly. So that information is posted on the district website.
The information meaning
The number
how
of
many
open
students
spots
are there and how many open spots there
are available for
And it's
transfers
illegal
by grade
for us to deny any transfer other than certain exceptions in the law.
Yes.
But based on the capacity, including the teaching staff availability, those are all accepted.
Yes. Capacity, behavior, attendance, and like you said, with the staffing
What's
piece
specifically in
are
the
the
law
only reasons those could be,
states.
denied. Did you have another? I'm thinking there was something else that I didn't
No, I
answer.
mean, that pretty much, yes.
Okay. And like we said, I know this a lot too. There's no way you've had a chance to look at all of this information. I know it's a lot to digest. We will continue to receive input, not only from you, but as part of the communications timeline that we put together when we initially started this process. There will be public hearings, more opportunities for input as we continue down this process, and items for action will take place months down the road as we look at making
So
decisions.
is your committee essentially done then? I mean, in their role, or what is your?
So here's what I told, you can go, do you want to go ahead what we talked about as of last night when we were still meeting last night?
Which, by the way, thank you so much for your service. Yeah.
We were pretty much told that it just depends on, they'll get community input, we'll go back and look at that input, any questions that you guys have or input from you guys, and then we'll meet again, probably January, just depends on when all that community input comes in and what questions you guys have. So we're basically on call.
I told them their work is not done. This is just a preliminary recommendation, and that as we look towards input and feedback, which we would, like some, as you have the opportunity to go through this information, as you receive input, we'll come back with some information in December for you in terms of questions or answers. We know the secondary piece with high schools is just getting started up, so we'll be looking we talked initially about January for some possible public hearings, so that we can get feedback from all of the community and present and share the information that we have. So they know it's an ongoing process, and as we have needs, I told them they could be meeting on any given Monday night. We'd obviously give them notice and let them know, but they know that they're not finished yet. But they have been. Okay. It has been a great opportunity to work with a committee, and like they said, they probably spent the first 3 weeks, and all we were doing was giving them. I was like, I feel like I'm overwhelming you with the amount of data that we're giving you from a school district, but they were great in going through, processing it, asking really good questions, coming back, doing their homework, taking the information home, like, hey, I have questions about this. I want to know more about this. It's been a really good process, and I've appreciated their time because it has taken, like I said, over the last 6 weeks, and will continue. It's taken a fair amount of their time on Monday nights to come and be a part of this in the evenings.
Are there any other questions, or should we move to middle school? Jim, did you want to chime in on Washington? Washington holds a special place in Jim's heart, I know.
I don't know. As I listened, I've always been concerned about losing Washington or an elementary school in that area because, like was said before, that if you go from Green Acres south, there would not be another elementary school in that area. And an elementary school is made to be a neighborhood school. And I don't know. I don't know what the answers are going to be here for sure. I don't know what we could, what it would take to really get Washington up to speed to be a really good school. I mean, not as a educational school, but as a physical facility that we have that would not have leaks in it, would be able to take care of any ADA that we have to have. I mean, it'd be $1 million+ to fix that up like it should be. But on the other hand, I look at Pocatello is almost 30 years older than Washington, and it's a beautiful school and it's functional, and Washington probably could become. But there again, do we want to spend the money to do that? And the time, you'd have to have kids out of school there for a while to do something like that. So.
And I know if you have a certain number or percentage of improvement on a school, then you are then subject to current codes,
Right.
which would mean earthquake codes, which structurally, that wouldn't meet current.
I don't know.
earthquakes.
I personally am torn what to do. I know that we need probably to do something, And I have always been, well, my daughter started teaching school there years ago, and she loved it there. She loved the neighborhood, she loved the kids, and she just had a great experience there. And I've always enjoyed being there. And like I said before, we need to have a neighborhood school around there somehow, for some reason.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, go ahead.
I just think it's important to remember that we asked all these questions and thought about, I mean, we literally asked all those things, but our job was to look at the current enrollment issues and being efficient with our buildings, and unfortunately, our decision was to close the school, but trying to keep Washington, because we had that discussion, do we keep this school? But it doesn't solve the enrollment problem.
Right.
And the efficiency problem, and we're all heartbroken, and it was a really hard decision, and we feel for everyone that was here. It was really hard to hear everyone say that, because in the meetings, we can be very objective, and we had to be. But I think it's important to remember that that's why we were there, to solve the enrollment issues. We weren't there specifically to close the school. That's just what happened.
Right. And you know, if there's going to be changes made, there are going to be feelings hurt, I guess, or people upset, or, I mean, it's just going to have to happen, and it's heartbreaking, I know that. I don't know what the answer is.
I don't.
I appreciate what you guys have had to go through. I'm sure it's been very emotional and hard.
And there's just one last thing, sorry, middle school. I didn't mention this piece as far as if a decision were made to close a school, there would just be a redistribution of the staff. There's been no talk and no discussion of anyone losing their job. We obviously would have larger capacities at other schools, and we would have to redistribute staff and add additional classrooms. So just wanted to make that clear as far as there's been no talk. And then the committee was told that as well, because they were very concerned as they started this process that if this were to cost individuals their job, that was something that was very hard for them. And I said that has been discussed, and that is not the case.
No,
The
I
staff
think that's
members
a
would just be
priority to not have
redistributed.
that happen. Yeah. Megan, did you have something before we moved to middle school?
No, I'll table it.
So one other question that had come up really fast. This is not, if anything were to be cited, it's not this school year. We're not going to disrupt this school year. Okay? Just
Correct.
wanted
The
to add-
24-25 school year, nothing is,
Yeah.
nothing is
That's
changing
often
for this
floated
school
out
year.
there, and that, I've not heard that one either.
No, and no decisions will be made. And I have appreciated hearing all these comments, because it's really opened my eyes, and I know that we have all appreciated hearing all of these comments.
So our middle school committee consisted of 15 people. We had 8 parents, 2 from each middle school, 3 administrators, and 2 teachers, and myself. And so, and when we met, we literally data dumped for the first 2 weeks. And then we discussed some changes for middle school and wanting to balance our middle schools. 2 of our middle schools are above capacity, and 2 of our middle schools are below capacity. And so if we could do some minor boundary changes and balance those a little better and leave space in all 4 of our middle schools for transfers, for move-ins, for growth. And then we also looked at socioeconomics and seeing if we could keep that close. We didn't want to tip that apple cart too far. So we did all that for about 3 weeks, and then they said, what's the elementary committee doing? And should we wait for them to see where their lines may land and be able to change some of our boundaries so that schools that are currently one feeder school into a middle school, could we keep those? Are some of them going to have to be feeding into 2 middle schools? And so we waited for a week and then got some information from the elementary committee. And what you see is the suggestions for possible boundary changes for middle school. And it's partly to keep feeder schools if we could. So there was, I'll point out one section. Lewis and Clark is in the center of the elementary school. It's the brown section. And they have a little blue section to the bottom of it and a little green section to the right of it. all of those kids right now are proposed to go to Lewis and Clark, but on the middle school map, some of them, that little blue section, went to Irving, and the little green section went to Franklin, but all of those kids are Lewis and Clark kids. So we said it would be nice if we could get all of those kids to feed into Alameda like Lewis and Clark is right now. So we tweaked a few boundaries here and there to see if we could get kids going from one elementary school to one middle school. I will tell you that we looked at several other spots, like do we switch a whole school into, do we switch Tendoy all into Alameda? And it was way too many kids. Franklin ended up with not enough kids. Alameda ended up with way too many kids. We looked at a section in Chubbuck that it's an Ellis part, and part of them this section goes to Hawthorne, and this section goes to Alameda. And we said, what if that section went to Alameda, or what if, more went to Hawthorne? There was 80 kids in this little section, so Hawthorne would have been gutted, and Alameda would have been over. So we said, they're already going separate ways as it is, so we just left them in that space. And so on our sheet that you have in there, on the second page, those are some of the ones that we considered, and it just toppled the schools too far. So we said, not on those yet. But again, these are proposed preliminary boundaries, and if we get direction from the board to look at something else, then our committee will get back together again, and we'll be continuing on looking at the best we can. Like I said, we're trying to keep as much as we can feeder schools as best we can without overloading one or the other. And so
Seems like your job is a little less.
ours was much easier than than the elementary schools. For middle school, much easier.
Have you gotten any feedback? I've not, all of my feedback has been on the elementary side, so, yeah.
Yep. So, I'm sure you will.
I feel a little overwhelmed
I
with
know,
all this,
I know.
too.
And
There's no way I have been
would
able
say,
to
yeah.
see all of this yet. So,
So my request is if you guys will take a really good look at that, and then maybe we can, if you have questions or directions for us in this December work session, that gives you about 2.5 weeks to just look at. And if you have questions, please call AJ or myself, or I can give you committee names. This is Tom Chatterton. He's one of our teachers that was on that committee. But if you've got questions, please ask. And I said, if not, we can discuss it again during the December work session and get directions from you guys.
and maybe schedule some public forums.
In January.
and
Yep,
Things
absolutely.
like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Make sure that everybody has.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
To share.
Can I ask one real fast?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Go for
I
it.
need a bell.
You're good. Ding.
I saw it on both maps, so I'm just curious on the transportation part of crossing the highway, and just it's like a little section that goes, so I'm wondering if you'll just speak to that and how that affects transportation, or
So they cross the highway for other.
they already do that?
For Alameda as it is already.
Okay. I guess I don't see that on the old map. I don't know. It's never been an issue, though. Okay.
And once Chubbuck Road opens up, it'll probably be different too, and make it a lot easier to get across that.
I just had one more, that kind of came up tonight, was this historical society that's in the neighborhood. Ryan, I think you had talked about that there's some future plans and things that are going to revitalize that neighborhood committee. Is that something you would be open to have them at least come present to your committee as part of, I'd be interested to hear more about that.
Oh, that would probably be the public forum, right?
Well, I'm wondering if because that's going to be limited in time to speak, I would think. I would be interested in hearing, and I don't know how far along that plan is. It just seems like that ought to be something, and I know this is very data-driven, but there is clearly the emotional, how are we supporting the community? And, one of the things that's hard is that, that some people are relying on the school district to kind of bolster these facilities, but then we couldn't get a bond passed to cover a burned school.
If we
And
can get a
so,
bond passed.
yeah, you know,
That was brought up in the committee, that they
Well, you
were,
know, and
the
it's
discussion about an elementary
I don't know
school
if
and
you all
a bond.
remember, but we actually considered putting Washington in that bond. And, you know, the blowback we've got because we put Century in the bond as well. I mean, it's unfortunately, I mean, who knows? Crystal ball issues, we know that.
But yes, Heather, we would definitely
But,
be
you know,
open to,
You know, if anyone
gathering
had
and
read or read
having
some of the
information.
minutes, one of the talks had been, you know, before we even got where we are with Highland, you know, Idaho, we've got that property around Idaho. Do we make Idaho and build there to make more of a mega elementary? And, you know, of course, there are issues associated with that. But anyway, I just think that that might be worth, right, I mean, but it meant adjusting some other. I would be curious, and I don't know if you still have the data put together when you were looking at not closing any schools. You know, we talked about not having any other options. I would be curious to see what that looked like when you weren't closing any schools, so leaving Tendoy and leaving, or not, yeah, Tendoy and Washington. I'd also like to see what you came up with when it was Tendoy that was going to be eliminated. I'd like to see all of those options at some point. And then I also think it would behoove you to at least hear from this committee, because I think that there is enough vested interest in that neighborhood that, you know, they have information that might be helpful. You know, again, no decisions, definitely interested in public comment, but I just think hearing from that group more specifically would be more than a public hearing environment.
And Heather, to that note, we, as a committee, that was one of the questions was, you know, if the school district, you know, had all the responsibility of these repairs, or if there was some sort of historical, you know.
Yeah, you know, I'd be curious. Is
You know,
the
money that
building
could come from
eligible for
historical
something
societies
like
or
that?
somewhere that could also help with that.
Because
That was the
if
question
you
we
have
had.
other
Beyond our
groups
budget.
that have some pull or some influence, how do we make this work? Because I grew up with a neighborhood school like that, and, you know, now it's, I don't even know what it is now, but it's not a school, and it's hard. It's hard to see.
Bonneville isn't a school.
So, anyway, okay.
Are there any other questions or comments about these boundaries or? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tara.
We need to excuse Heather, and do we need to excuse you, Megan, too?
No, I'll be fine.
Okay,
Get-
okay,
It's
okay.
not much.
Okay, thank you. The next on the agenda is policy 8212, head lice, for a first reading for action.
Sorry to get to hear from you a little bit more. This will hopefully be quicker. As indicated in the work session last week, we're just looking at making a few updates regarding our current policy for head lice, and this is based on the CDC and American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations. In your packet, you can see what those updates and changes would consist of. One being that we will discontinue all class checks if a student is found to have lice in that classroom. Also, on readmittance to school, once they are treated, we'll no longer require a 7-day recheck in order for them to continue. If there were concerns and thought that maybe there was still head lice, obviously they could be checked, but not a required 7-day recheck. Once they're treated, there's no additional need for a 7-day recheck. And then the last one with the chronic head lice, it kind of goes along with the parent consent piece. It indicated that pesticide could be used by school personnel and not permitted unless approved by school administration or consultation with the health department. It would require parent consent. So just removing that portion from the
Okay, I would entertain
policy.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I would entertain a motion to hear on first reading, policy 8212, as presented. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board hear policy 8212, head lice on first reading as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. And then now Head Start.
Okay, Head Start self-assessment, this is also an action item. Head Start is starting their annual self-evaluation plan or assessment, and they just need board approval to move forward with that. Nothing has changed. They've gone through this process annually for a number of years. They just need your approval in order to start that process.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the Head Start self-assessment plan as presented. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the Head Start self-assessment plan for 2024-2025 as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. Tanya Wilkes will now present. Thanks, Aishi.
Thank you.
You're out of the hot seat. Advantage Plus Federal Credit Union sponsorship agreement.
So back in April, you had agreed to a sponsorship of Advantage putting a scoreboard in Irving. And then they came back at the table and said, actually, we'd like to do it in all 4 middle schools. So they're going to purchase, and this one actually is a little beefed up in the sense they'll purchase a scoreboard for each of the middle schools for a 10-year agreement, and they'll purchase them outright and have them put up. They'll pay for all of the installation.
Well, that's.
There's not any of them that are sponsored right now?
No. Dairy West sponsored a bunch of them, but I know at Irving, I bought that outright by student funds. We fundraise for them.
Okay, I was thinking that some of them were already
A
sponsored.
couple of them have Dairy West that had purchased it, but
That's-
they're all in need.
They're all
Definitely.
expired? Those agreements are expired? Okay.
And so I'm assuming we're responsible for the upkeep, but I'm sure that there would be a warranty.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve the Advantage Plus Federal, unless there are any other questions, sorry.
I hereby move that the board approve the Advantage Plus Federal Credit Union sponsorship agreement as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. Human resource, oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Human resource report will be at our next meeting. And then business operations. Jonathan Bowles will present on Highland, PV Tech, capital improvements, and policy 2305.
Okay, board members, a quick update on Highland High School regarding the demo. We talked last week, we found some electrical lines that are too close to the surface, so we're working on a plan to essentially get those buried a little bit deeper, and we feel confident that that's going to take place. It's just when. And so we have our next meeting up at Highland on Thursday with kind of the contractors and to review those. And so we'll continue there. I looked, and we do not have a basement anymore on that property. And so, again, I need to know, I don't know exactly how many tons or square foot or cubic yards of fill was to fill that. But I do know, because I get all the tests, we've done over 60 compaction tests. Because
I ask you how many.
Yeah, at least 60. I bet there's a few more that will happen, just because that is absolutely critical to make sure the stability of the new building that's going on there. And so we have all those. Again, those are tests that we meet at least 95% compaction is the industry standard there. So.
Wow. So
yes.
every foot you had to do?
Correct, almost every
Gosh.
foot. We had several tests in different areas there. Again, if you want to see those reports, there's a lot of data.
No, I
moisture readings.
How deep was that hole?
Oh, excellent question.
It was a dungeon.
I mean, it was a dungeon.
down
20
there.
feet? I don't, at least
That racquetball court may have even been deeper.
30?
Oh, yeah.
Like 25 or so, yeah.
It was
Correct.
2 levels below the surface.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah. So, yeah, the demo is going well, and that is all just going to help us hit the ground running come the spring. So again, the architect has, again, 3 different phases: the schematic design, the design set, and then we're working on the construction set. Those drawings, and the architect and his team are 65% done with those. We just got those the end of last week. And so we're on schedule a month from now to be completely done with those construction drawings. Bateman Hall will then take them, and they've been reviewing them all along the way, but they'll take them and make bid packages so that we can go out to bid in January. And then for sure by the March board meeting, we'll see if we can hit the February board meeting, but basically have the bid results for you to do there as well. At that time, we anticipate we'll also have kind of a public presentation, if you will, of, okay, here's some sketches of the building, here's how much it's going to cost us, here's how we're going to pay for it, and so forth. In your packet, again, are some draft pictures of what interiors or exteriors might look like for you to review.
So you say construction prints, does that include electrical and?
Oh, absolutely.
and everything?
Yeah,
the
so,
whole gamut?
I know at least, yeah, it's the full 200-plus pages, yes. And that's, we've been meeting every Wednesday, I think, for at least 3 months now. Again, we're normally just silent observers of the architect talking with all the engineers, all the trades, and we're literally coordinating, this downspout, this vent, from concrete, structural, site, electrical, structural, I said that, mechanical, and so forth. So that is an update there on Highland. I will recommend, or mention, I think I mentioned to a few of you, we did receive our first payment from the state, from this school district modernization fund. 34 million is in our bank account, and so that is a set aside specific bank account where a portion of this will be going to help add to our insurance dollars to help fund this project. Okay. If there's not any more questions on that, again, PV Tech update, just real brief. We are meeting tomorrow, and we're almost down to a numbered list of items that have to be done and when they'll be done. They said they should be wrapped up by the end of this month. It might be that first week in December, but it is very close to be turned over to us, and then we can start putting, especially in those shop spaces, filling that out with equipment and get more and more students in that building. If I I'll just continue, Madam Chair. Again, we've had 2 meetings of our capital improvement program. Again, this is for the 25-26 school year that'll start in July. And so you can kind of look to see what we've kind of been discussing. Last meeting, we reviewed all of the interior and exterior requests by the schools. And so we did, just to make sure everybody's aware, and because we will have that discussion probably in December as we come to you again. We talked about the Franklin Middle School track that has come up. Again, what we do with that track, as well as we're looking at remodeling some bathrooms, starting with Hawthorne Middle School to be able to make those more safe, if you will, with higher stalls and so forth, with even some camera access to protect the privacy, but then also that our SROs can monitor any activity that we don't want to have in there. So
Outside in the hallways.
Yep, it's in the hallways.
So on that capital improvement.
Yes.
Can we put that on? We obviously do not have time to talk about those items tonight. It's so late. Can we put that on our December work session?
Absolutely.
So that we can then have a
absolutely.
chance to discuss all of those things.
I would love that.
Well,
I'd love that
'cause
even before, the formal recommendation.
Yeah,
Yes, that'd be great.
because I don't feel like we're prepared or have
Sure.
time
Sure.
to really discuss that.
Okay.
Is that?
Absolutely.
Yes, I'm also curious on this, on the most recent meeting on the 14th.
Yes.
There's like a paragraph, but I see that the meeting was like 2 hours, and so I just feel like I'm missing a lot
You bet.
in there.
So, and I can show you our notes. Again, there were probably 24 pages of requests. And that's literally what we go through there. Okay, is this a capital improvement plan, or is this a work order? Okay, and then we made some assignments, a lot of them to maintenance, to, go ask, find out some more information. AJ and Sue, as the secondary and elementary director, they would take some assignments to go find out, what was more information about that request, so we can get a price. So then on our December 5th meeting, then we'll have the price there and kind of evaluate, okay, these are things we can do, or these are items we can start to do. And I can show you those minutes to help.
Can you just attach them to our December work meeting, just so that?
Absolutely.
We just
Yep.
can like,
Yep.
just glance through them, so we just kind of have a.
Because that December work session is December
The
10th. Yes, and our meeting's the 5th, and
Oh.
we'll have that. Absolutely, that'll be
Okay.
easy.
Yeah, because we'd love to have that complete list to see like what the full scope of
You bet.
what everybody's asking.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I felt like the October meeting, I got a better understanding of what was discussed, so I'm glad that you can help fill in. those holes.
And if anytime you can stop by my office and I can show you all the requests, kind of our notes that we had there.
Thank you.
Excellent question, though. I understand. And we will definitely add those to the next, so everybody can see those.
Thank you.
Okay, some more discussion on the 10th then. Lastly, as we talked last week, again, some revisions to our, let me pull it up here, to policy 2305 regarding PTA, PTO, and other parent-teacher organizations. Again, just some additional language that we ran by our lawyer that just enhances or highlights the separation between the organization and the district. That the district is not responsible, legal or otherwise, for any action or inaction of the PTA or PTO. And that strictly states that they are solely responsible for their own financial actions.
And I think just to kind of really reiterate this, all the financial reports, all the audits, that the district is the standard, that the district is held to is a very high standard.
Correct.
And none of that has any PTAs, PTOs, call it
Booster clubs.
booster clubs
Sure,
or
any of those.
not-for-profit,
Yep.
nothing. All of that has to stay separate because that is not held to the standard that this is.
That is correct. We don't have any control, or nor we want to have control there. We share a relationship, and they play a vital role
It is a
to
really
our,
important-
to there, but then financially, though, we have to stay separate. We do accept donations there, but that's the extent of the financial relationship that we have.
Yeah, and the benefit to them is they get to spend their money however they want to,
That is
but they're
correct.
also responsible.
They are.
As to how that money is spent.
That's correct. And so this policy revision for action for you to accept as first reading.
First.
Right, we'll have this again in December, I believe, as a second reading, but just as first reading, to accept it as first reading.
So I would entertain a motion to accept policy 2305 as a first reading.
I hereby move that the board hear policy 2305 as first reading.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. So, thank you, Jonathan. If there's no other questions, I'll just, next on the agenda is the superintendent's report, which will be presented by Superintendent Howell, and he'll report on board calendar and the revised procedure for 2201P meetings of the board.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. And the calendar will be quick because we have a couple of extended breaks in there. But tomorrow, the calendar committee is meeting, and that's yourself, Madam Chair, and also Mrs. Furness. And so we will, Mr. Watson will lead that discussion. We have some varying participants from across the district to help with the input on that, parents and teachers. And so we will look at some preliminary work, and then with the likelihood of bringing you a 25-26 calendar, probably sometime in January. Then next up, Thanksgiving break. When we return from break, you see, as Mr. Balls just talked about, the SIP committee will be meeting on December 5th, and that's Mr. Facer and Ms. Clark. And so they'll pick that work up again, and then, as we mentioned, we'll bring that to the board in the work session, reviewing all that information best we can and take your questions. Then we have, for that.
Can I just ask you a question on that?
Sure.
On the SIP, if I don't know if, Jonathan, if you would hear, if one or the other of Heather or Jim can't be there, couldn't you just let someone else know, Megan or
Yeah.
or somebody, anybody, just open that opportunity for another board member, whoever wants that opportunity, to go to that, so that
Absolutely.
Because it's good information.
Yeah.
Really good information.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, good suggestion. Then you will see, we have board visits tentatively scheduled for the 6th, but really it's whatever works with your calendar and your schedules for that first week. We'd just like to get you out into schools and seeing our classrooms and our learners and teachers in action. So we will prepare. Ms. Johnson, are we doing it by assignment, or did we decide it's more of where you haven't been and where you'd like to go?
Yes, that's where we landed, and I just need to hear back from everybody so I can kind of line up. So if you haven't got me the schools that you'd like to visit, let me know so I can kind of coordinate a little better.
Okay, so we will do our homework.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, because I think we were running into problems where you were visiting schools twice, and maybe some that you had never been to, or various departments across the district. So we want to make sure that you're seeing what you'd like to see and not being redundant. And then you'll see on December 9th from 4 to 6 tentatively scheduled is our annual meeting with the legislators prior to them going to work in January at the Capitol. And so we reviewed that agenda with you, I think, at our last meeting, and we didn't receive any other input for discussion, or there was one maybe. I can't remember. We'll take a look at it, but I think we're adequately prepared to meet with them and share our concerns and needs when we meet. And then the Community Prevention Committee meeting, if you're interested in attending that, it would be 2 representatives from the board could attend December 10th. December 11th, if you'll hold that as a placeholder for student discipline hearings. Again, that just varies depending on the discipline in the schools and what comes out of DDRC. And, but just again, as a placeholder. Local Issues Committee, if you're interested, that's presented by the chamber. And that's usually a 7:30 meeting at, they call it the War Room in the Portland of Health Trust building. And then that takes us out to a regular board meeting on the 17th. You can see right after that, District Curriculum Committee, Mrs. Judy, Mr. Knopf on the 19th, and then winter break begins. And somewhere in there, as we've talked about a number of times tonight, we'll slide in a couple, maybe 1, 2 public hearings. We'll see what we need, and the board can take more input on these proposed boundary changes.
I was wondering, if we have some provisional date when we're going to have the Anxious Generation book study.
So that's at our December work session, was the first the first 6 chapters, I believe, is what we agreed to.
Oh, we're going to combine it with the same, in the work session?
That was my understanding.
Okay.
Is that what you understood, Ms. Johnson?
Okay.
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 Yeah, rather than a special meeting.
I know, I had thought there was a December 2nd special meeting, but that's great. And Megan, do you want to lead that discussion since you?
I want Ray to lead that.
Oh, Ray.
Yeah, sure,
I
I'll
was
lead it.
just going to say, since you suggested the book, but you have
I
read
did,
and studied it.
But Ray has probably written down a lot more notes than I have, so I would.
Did you
I
want to
would love
lead that?
hear
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm happy to do that. I'm sure.
I don't want to say.
So what date is that again?
It'll be December 10th.
10th.
Okay, okay, there I see it.
Oh, I must have missed that one when I was
Yeah.
rolling
You'll
past
go,
them.
it's
Yep,
okay.
okay, all right, thanks for that catch. My other item tonight for the board is the operating principles, which is found under the procedure of 2201. And we've talked about this a few times, actually, in our board retreat, as well as one of our other meetings. And we picked up that item in 27. And then we also added one word, public, in 28 of these operating principles. And then 32 was, this is recommended language. It's just what Ms. Johnson and I prepared for you tonight. This came by way of a question in regard to the board contacting legal counsel. We've added some language there that if it's related to personal liability bias or concerns, similar concerns, that you would be able to work within the 4 hours that ISBA, Idaho School Board Association, provides for free legal counsel. And then after that, if you would just work your requests through me, I could arrange it. So that's the language, the summary of the language in 32. And I believe that's up for action tonight.
So now the Ask ISBA is just a public forum. It's public questions, public answers. That's great, but that's already there for us, so I don't think we really need that in our procedures. That's just a benefit of ISBA, provided we're still, as long as we're members. But then I guess I just need to clarify, so we would contact legal counsel up to 4 hours? And then
So-
any future legal questions?
Okay, so I'll just interject there, the Ask ISBA, if that's that public forum, I might have just gotten incorrect language from ISBA. So I'll clarify, because they do have free 4 hours of direct legal counsel services. That's not the public forum.
Oh,
Not
that's
the public
confidential.
questions.
So who
Yes.
is that lawyer?
So, but you go through, it is still the same attorney that we utilize.
Oh, okay.
But you just work through Quinn to get that, and they will arrange that legal counsel, and then they also track those hours so that they can let us know when we're through those.
Okay, so let's take that Ask ISBA
Mm-hmm.
out,
Okay, I can do that.
because that is just a public forum. So I guess we don't get paid. And so this is just a question about, if we have a question about, how do we handle this open meeting law issue, or something that, maybe a letter that gets sent to us, or obviously something within our capacity as a board member. Definitely not any kind of personal questions, but that was our question that came up is, I know when I received a couple letters, I didn't know how to respond, and so we needed a policy in order for me to be able to ask a legal question.
And I think your question, though, if it pertains to the entire board, would be beneficial for them to hear the answer as well. And so that's why it could be communicated through Ms. Johnson or myself to legal counsel.
It could be, but on this one, when it says up to the four free hours, does it say 4 on there? I guess it says all available free hours. I think it's 4 hours. So in order to access that, we just contact Quinn?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. So we will be able to ask any questions having to do with an email that comes to us, or a comment that comes to us, or any question that we have.
And I think our legal counsel will guide you through that. So
So,
if you
but I
call,
just say-
she'll say, this would benefit the entire board. Let's pick it up that way. If it's a personnel question, it could be handled in executive session. And-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right. I
yeah,
guess- I
she'll
guess
be able to
pertain-
help you.
I guess I'm
So-
specifically thinking of pertaining to like emails that we receive.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I guess it could really relate to anything that is only okay to talk about in executive session, because we need to know if there's something that we can't talk about, and what we can and cannot talk about, and how do we handle that. So.
Sure.
So I guess other districts just have, they can just contact their lawyer for their district when they have a question. So I guess I guess our process would not be that. We would not contact our legal advisor. We would
Just
contact
personally
Quinn.
speaking, as your superintendent, as your hired official for this position, CEO, I would recommend that you work those through myself or Ms. Johnson. And then again, the whole board could benefit from that response. If it's in regard to you feel exposure to personal liability bias or concern that way, maybe I've not provided you the best opinion, or you may disagree, then I would say that's when we take advantage of these hours.
Okay, or anytime we want to, right? I mean, if we have a question, I just want to be sure that each one of us, if we have a question that, maybe it's not something we want the whole board, it's something that maybe was somebody, mentioned something to us that we don't want to, talk about with the whole board.
Right, but I think if you're going to utilize it in any decision-making or anything that, represents the board in that action, then I think they should be privy to those questions.
Well, right, and so I guess we do need to clarify here, because we need to, I think, each be able to have access to ask questions I don't think it's gonna come up very much.
Mhm.
For me, it's come up 2 different times. One was, 3 years ago when somebody contacted me about personnel. And I told them, I don't think I can stay. I don't know what I could do here. And so, anyway, so that was one, and then this recent one was some letters that got sent to me. So those were mine. I don't know what anybody else would have. But I just want to be sure that we have the ability to get legal advice without having another board member sitting there. Because when I ask a question,
And I think that language would cover you, and I would rely
that's
on the legal counsel to tell you whether or not it would be applicable to the entire board.
okay, so you would prefer us reaching out to Quinn with those questions rather than our,
Yeah, it'll work through
Legal.
Quinn because she'll be able to track the time
okay.
that you were on that call, or for legal counsel to know to bill ISBA rather than send an invoice to the school district.
Okay, because I just want to be sure that works well, because I don't know if we would want Quinn to know personal things that are
No,
going
you would
on
just say,
in our board.
I need to utilize the
Oh,
hours
we don't
set
tell
as-"
her the problem.
No, you would not.
We just tell her that we need to ask a question.
Yes.
Because I thought, gosh, that's really crazy to include another person.
Nope. No, I don't
Because
think she
mean,
would question you about that.
goes against, I wouldn't want to tell anybody else.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
okay. All right, so as long as we're all on the same page, we can get any questions asked.
Okay,
answer
so
that
we
have.
will remove that Ask ISBA section through, Ms. Johnson, did you have a chance to look at that? I see 2 prepositions that would go together if we just remove that. So can you maybe touch up that language for us?
Yeah.
And I think we should say 4 free hours, because I don't know if they're always going to offer that, and if they don't offer.
I think that's why we wrote it more
Yeah,
generic.
I was gonna say, I think that's
Well,
why I wrote
I'm
it
just
that
saying
way,
if
because they
they-
might change
Right,
the,
if they change it so
total
they don't,
hours.
if they don't offer any free hours, then obviously we need
We
to
would just
revisit
change-
this
exactly.
policy.
right,
So
so that's
that's
why I
would
wouldn't include
trigger
it right
us.
now, because if they change that, they could still offer those, it just might vary on how much.
Yeah, I'm just worried
If they
because,
remove that as a benefit, then we could just take, rework the process.
then let's say that, as long as there is a benefit, and if there is not a benefit, then we can contact our lawyer with the district. Because we always need to have that, not for me, because this will be for future boards.
Right,
But-
I wouldn't, that's been offered through ISBA for the last 15 years that I've been
Okay.
here, but.
So long as, I guess, we
Yeah.
always have a membership, so.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, just want to be sure that anybody, since again, we're not paid, but we are legally liable for anything we do that's against the law, that make sure that we're covered and make sure we can ask questions that we have to make sure that we are always obeying the law. Okay,
I've got one quick question about the board work session. So how much time do you think we're going to devote to the book study?
oh, that's a good question.
Because we have,
Well, I think we're stacking them up through this evening. We've asked Mrs. Bowie to come back. You're going to have a report update on
Yeah.
attendance areas, and so, yeah, I don't know. Did you have some sort of a?
no, I
a
just
time
wanted some
in-
sort of idea. I would prepare so that
Yeah.
I would, I
What
would
do
go
you
over.
think, having read the book in its entirety, what do you think would be an adequate time for the board to
I
discuss
think an
that?
hour, because I don't think you can do a book study in less than an hour.
Well, it's the first 6 chapters.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
half
it's
the
only
first
the
half,
first six
first half of the
chapters,
book.
That's right. So, okay.
I have to admit,
30
I'm
minutes?
just barely out of chapter 1, so I've got a little time through the break, though. But,
Yeah.
so, Mr. Knopf, you.
Well, we don't have to, let's just think about that.
Okay,
And that
that'd
way
be
I can
great.
prepare and,
Absolutely.
so that we can move things along and we don't run over time and I just,
Yeah. Okay.
Right, yeah, because you
we
want.
don't have to decide that now, but something to think
We
about.
could say 40 minutes. What do you think?
Yeah, 30, 40.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Should we just say that, and then you can work from that, so you can get your questions?
Yeah, that's
and
what I'll do. I'll
discuss-
use that as a tentative timeline.
And then
You know, you can adapt it
discussion
later.
options.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are
okay.
we,
Sounds great.
are we tabling this action?
That's what I was just gonna ask, if you want to table this for next month, or if you
Well-
want to just adopt it right now with that removal of the Ask ISBA.
Do you want to change the wording?
We could change the wording and then can we just approve
It
it at
just-
the work session?
That one's not noticed for action. We could do a special meeting ahead
Oh, no,
of
we
that
don't
if
need
you
to do a
wanted.
special meeting, but. I
Oh,
mean,
it would only take an in and out.
Right.
Oh,
Have a
5-minute special
motion
meeting,
to
we
get
could do
into
it that
special
way.
meeting and-
oh, you mean right before our work session?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we could do that, and then just
Okay.
look at the wording. make
And then I
sure
could bring back the wording so you
everybody's-
can have a chance to
And,
review
and
it.
Heather will be there
Yep.
too.
'Kay.
And everything, so we'll all be clear that,
So we're not going to make a motion now, then?
Right.
no, because
Well,
it's
we'll
not
need a
really a
motion to
first
table,
reading,
though.
it's not really a first reading, second
Do we
reading
make
thing.
a
Oh, yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so I may,
Make a motion to table?
is there a motion to table?
I move that we table motion, we make a motion to table procedure 2201P.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion passed. Are there any other questions, or can we adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Okay,
I second that motion.
okay, all right, this meeting is adjourned.
All in favor?